Little Daniel wandered deeper into the forest than he had ever imagined. The trees towered above him, their twisted branches forming dark shadows across the forest floor. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig made his tiny heart race. The sun had begun to dip lower, and the shadows grew longer, stretching across the narrow path like dark fingers. Daniel's small hands clutched at his shirt, feeling the cold brush of the forest air, wishing he could turn back but not knowing the way. He called out, his voice trembling, "Mom, Dad." The sound of his own voice felt swallowed by the dense trees. No answer came, only the echo of his fear. From the shadows, a thin, mangy stray dog emerged. Its fur was matted and dirty, scars visible on its legs and ears, and its amber eyes glowed softly in the dimming light. Daniel froze, unsure if it was friend or foe, but the dog did not growl. Instead, it tilted its head, sniffed the air, and slowly approached him. The boy stepped back slightly, then sank to his knees, watching as the creature circled him once, twice, and finally settled at his feet. Its body curved around him protectively, offering warmth. Daniel cautiously reached out and touched its fur, feeling the softness despite its rough exterior. A flicker of hope stirred inside him, a tiny ember in the sea of fear. The night fell quickly, the forest growing cold and full of mysterious sounds. Daniel's eyelids grew heavy, but he dared not sleep for fear of being alone. Yet the dog stayed close, ears twitching at every sound, nose sniffing the air constantly. A soft whine escaped the dog occasionally, but it was not fear, it was watchfulness. When a branch snapped nearby, the dog's low growl resonated through the trees, warning any intruder to stay away. Daniel hugged the dog tightly, whispering, "Thank you for staying with me. Please don't leave me." The dog pressed its head against him, almost as if answering, "I will not leave you." By morning, the forest was bathed in soft golden light. Daniel stretched his stiff limbs, rubbing sleep from his eyes. The dog was still there, alert and waiting. Together, they began walking again, Daniel's small legs stumbling over roots and rocks. The dog stayed ahead, then returned to check on him, nudging him gently to keep moving. They crossed streams, stepped over moss-covered logs, and navigated thickets that tore at Daniel's clothes. He felt a mixture of awe and trust, realizing that his little companion had become his guide and protector. Around midday, the path grew more dangerous. A rustling in the underbrush caught Daniel's attention, and suddenly 2 wild dogs lunged from the shadows, eyes gleaming, teeth bared. Daniel froze, his body trembling, but the stray dog stepped forward, growling fiercely. The air seemed to thicken with tension. The fight was quick, violent, and raw. The stray dog dodged and snapped, refusing to back down despite its smaller size and previous injuries. Leaves and dust flew in every direction as the battle raged. Daniel crouched behind a rock, heart pounding, tears in his eyes, unable to look away. Eventually, the wild dogs retreated into the forest, leaving the boy and his loyal companion victorious but battered. Daniel ran forward, hugging the dog tightly, feeling an overwhelming gratitude. "You saved me. You really saved me," he whispered, tears streaming down his face. The dog leaned into him, its amber eyes soft and steady. They had survived together, forming a bond that needed no words. Hours passed as they moved cautiously, following trails and streams, climbing small hills, and avoiding fallen branches. The dog stayed ever vigilant, guiding Daniel, ensuring he did not stumble, comforting him when he faltered. The fear that had once paralyzed him now transformed into trust, admiration, and the purest form of companionship. By late afternoon, the forest began to thin. Rays of sunlight broke through the thick canopy, glinting off distant fields. Daniel's heart surged. With hope, could this be the edge of the forest? The way home? The dog glanced toward the open light, then back at Daniel, as if urging him forward. Together, they pressed onward, careful but determined, their bond growing stronger with every step. The forest, once a place of fear and confusion, now felt alive with possibility and hope. As the morning sun continued to rise, Daniel and the stray dog moved cautiously along a narrow forest path. The gentle light illuminated the forest floor, casting long shadows and highlighting the intricate textures of moss-covered rocks and fallen leaves. Each step was deliberate, as Daniel's small legs were still weak from the exhaustion of the previous night. Yet the presence of the dog gave him courage. The animal would stop from time to time, glance back with its glowing amber eyes, and make sure Daniel was keeping pace. He had begun to understand its subtle cues. A nudge here, soft bark there, guiding him safely through the wilderness. The forest was alive with morning sounds. Birds calling to one another, leaves rustling with the wind, and the occasional scurry of small creatures in the underbrush. At first, these sounds had frightened Daniel, but now they felt like markers of life. Proof that the forest was not solely a place of danger. He began to notice the beauty around him. Sunlight sparkling through dewdrops on spiderwebs, delicate ferns unfurling along the path, and shafts of light piercing the canopy. Yet, despite the wonder, the boy knew he had to remain vigilant. The memory of the wild dogs from yesterday lingered in his mind, a stark reminder of the perils that still lay hidden. By midday, they came across a rushing stream. Daniel bent down to drink, the water cool and refreshing against his parched lips. The dog stayed close, drinking beside him, shaking water from its ears with a light flick. Daniel smiled faintly, feeling a rare sense of peace. "You've been amazing," he whispered to the dog. The animal looked up, ears twitching, as if acknowledging his words. He realized how much he had grown to rely on this companion, not just for guidance, but for comfort and courage. Every fear he had felt the night before seemed less threatening with the dog by his side. Suddenly, a rustling sound from the nearby underbrush made Daniel freeze. Two wild dogs emerged, eyes glinting with aggression. Daniel's chest tightened with fear, but the stray dog immediately positioned itself between him and the threat. It let out a low, threatening growl, bristling with determination. The forest seemed to hold its breath as the wild dogs circled, testing their opponent. Then, with a sudden flurry of movement, the fight began. The stray dog leaped and dodged with surprising agility, snapping at its adversaries while keeping the boy safe. Daniel crouched behind a tree, heart hammering, witnessing the bravery of his protector. When the wild dogs finally fled, the forest seemed to exhale. The stray dog, panting and slightly wounded, turned to Daniel, its amber eyes filled with a quiet reassurance. Daniel ran forward and hugged the animal, tears streaming down his cheeks. "I can't believe you saved me again," he whispered. The bond they shared was no longer one of mere companionship. It was a lifeline. Each step forward now carried with it a deep sense of trust and gratitude. The afternoon passed in a blur of movement. They crossed shallow streams, climbed over rocks, and wove through thickets, each obstacle strengthening their connection. The dog never strayed far from Daniel's side, always alert, always protective. Daniel began to understand the silent language they shared. The tilt of the head, the quick glance back, the gentle nudge guiding him, reassuring him, and teaching him courage in the quietest ways. As the sun began to descend, casting warm golden light across the forest floor, Daniel spotted the first hints of open fields beyond the trees. His heart leapt. Could it really be the edge of the forest? The approach to home? The dog sniffed the air and barked softly, tail wagging slightly. Daniel smiled, hope swelling in his chest. Together, they pressed onward, careful but determined, moving as one. The once imposing forest now felt like a path to freedom, shaped by the bond of trust, bravery, and loyalty. By twilight, they reached a clearing where the first signs of the village appeared. Smoke rose gently from chimneys, and faint sounds of life drifted on the wind. Daniel's eyes widened with relief. They had survived the forest, guided by a friend who had appeared when hope seemed lost. He knelt beside the dog, hugging it tightly. "We made it, thanks to you," he whispered. The dog remained vigilant, amber eyes scanning the last stretch of trees, ensuring that the boy would safely reach home. The journey had changed Daniel profoundly. Fear had transformed into courage, loneliness into companionship, and desperation into hope. The dog had become more than a guide, was a true hero, a silent guardian, and the embodiment of loyalty. Together, they stepped cautiously toward the village, ready to leave the forest behind, but carrying its lessons in their hearts. As Daniel and the stray dog stepped closer to the forest's edge, the village becoming clearer with every step, the boy could finally feel hope blossoming within him. The journey had been long and grueling, filled with moments of fear and uncertainty, but each step had strengthened the bond between him and the small hero who had appeared from nowhere. The stray dog, alert and vigilant, seemed almost to sense the approaching safety, leading Daniel carefully through the remaining obstacles, pausing to let him catch his breath and nudging him onward with gentle encouragement. Yet even with the light of the village just ahead, the forest still held dangers. A sudden rustle in the underbrush made Daniel freeze. He glanced at the dog, whose ears perked immediately, body tensed, and eyes scanning the shadows. From the thicket, The wild dogs from before emerged once again, snarling and baring their teeth. Daniel's heart leapt into his throat, fear gripping him tightly, but the stray dog stepped forward, unyielding. It had been wounded before, but it did not hesitate now, placing itself between Daniel and the threat, growling deeply and warning the intruders to stay back. The battle that followed was fierce, but brief. The stray dog moved with precision and agility, dodging the attacks, snapping back fiercely, protecting Daniel with every ounce of courage it possessed. Daniel crouched low behind a thick root, witnessing the bravery of his protector and feeling a mix of terror and admiration. The wild dogs eventually retreated once more, leaving Daniel and his loyal companion victorious, exhausted but unbroken. The dog shook itself, sending loose fur fluttering, and turned to Daniel. Amber eyes soft and steady, Daniel embraced the dog tightly, whispering words of gratitude and relief. "You saved me again. I don't know what I would have done without you," he murmured. The forest around them seemed calmer now, as if acknowledging their resilience. Each step they took now carried a new rhythm, a shared understanding between boy and dog, a silent communication born from danger and trust. They continued their journey, moving through streams, over moss-covered logs, and beneath thick canopies of trees, their steps cautious but determined. As they walked, Daniel's confidence grew. He no longer trembled at the sounds of the forest. Instead, he observed them, learning to anticipate what lay ahead. The dog stayed close, always watchful, guiding him over rough terrain and nudging him forward when he faltered. The boy felt a quiet sense of awe at the creature's bravery and devotion, understanding that courage was not just in bold actions but in quiet, steadfast presence. By late afternoon, the forest began to thin, and the first signs of the fields surrounding his village became visible. Daniel's heart raced with anticipation, but he kept his steps measured, following the dog's lead. The wind carried scents of cultivated crops, smoke from chimneys, and distant voices of people, signs that home was near. The dog paused occasionally, sniffing the air, then looked back at Daniel, its amber eyes urging him onward. Finally, they reached the clearing at the forest's edge. The sunlight bathed the fields in warm golden light, casting long shadows and highlighting the path toward the village. Daniel's legs ached, but the excitement and relief surged through him, giving him renewed energy. He glanced at the dog, who remained vigilant, ready to face any remaining obstacles. Together, they stepped onto the open path, leaving the dense forest behind, moving toward safety, comfort, and reunion. The sight of the village rooftops brought tears to Daniel's eyes. He could hear the faint murmur of daily life, children laughing, animals moving in pens, and voices calling across the fields. The journey had tested him, taught him bravery, and revealed the depth of loyalty in a small, unexpected hero. Daniel knelt beside the dog, hugging it tightly, whispering, "We made it. Thanks to you." The dog's ears twitched, and a soft bark responded, acknowledging the shared triumph. As they walked the last stretch toward home, Daniel felt a profound gratitude. The forest had been treacherous, filled with uncertainty and danger, yet it had also been a place of growth and understanding. The bond he shared with the stray dog was unbreakable now, forged in fear, strengthened through adversity, and anchored by unwavering loyalty. Each step closer to his village, Daniel realized that he would never forget this journey, nor the friend who had become his hero, guiding him through darkness to light. The path beyond the forest was open, bathed in the soft golden light of late afternoon. Fields stretched out on either side, dotted with wildflowers swaying gently in the breeze. The distant hum of village life carried on the wind. Daniel's legs ached from the long journey, yet his spirit soared. With the dog at his side, alert and protective, the boy felt an unwavering sense of safety. Every step seemed easier now, the fear that had gripped him so tightly in the forest replaced by a cautious excitement. He glanced at his companion and smiled, marveling at the courage and devotion the creature had shown through every trial. They approached a small stream that cut across the path. Daniel carefully placed his feet on the wet stones, following the dog's lead. The water sparkled under the fading sunlight, and he could hear the gentle gurgle of the current mixing with the distant sounds of the village. The dog paused at the bank, sniffing the air, ensuring the way was safe before moving forward. Daniel held his breath with each step, trusting completely in the guidance of his loyal protector. The journey had been exhausting, but every obstacle, overcome together, strengthened their bond. As the sun sank lower, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange, Daniel and the dog reached a gentle hill that overlooked the village. From this vantage point, he could see rooftops, gardens, and smoke curling from chimneys. His heart raced with anticipation. Home was near. Yet even in this moment of hope, Daniel remained cautious, aware of the lessons the forest had taught. The dog sniffed the wind, ears perked, eyes scanning the horizon. Daniel took a deep breath, feeling a quiet courage bloom within him. The descent from the hill brought them to the edge of the village. Villagers could be seen moving about, tending to chores, and children's laughter floated through the air. Daniel's heart swelled with relief, and he quickened his pace, the dog keeping a careful watch beside him. As they entered the village, the boy's parents appeared in the distance, their faces etched with worry. When they saw Daniel, their eyes widened with disbelief and relief. The reunion was instant and overwhelming. Daniel ran forward, tears streaming down his cheeks, and embraced his parents tightly. The dog remained at his side, tail wagging alert, but calm. It had fulfilled its role as guardian and guide, and now it observed the family with quiet vigilance. Daniel patted its head, whispering words of gratitude and affection. "Brought me back, the hero," he murmured, and the dog responded with a gentle bark, as if acknowledging its own pride and loyalty. The villagers gathered around, marveling at the bond between the boy and the stray dog who had braved the forest to protect him. Evening settled over the village, the sky painted in deep shades of purple and gold. Daniel sat in the grass beside his new friend, watching the sun dip below the horizon. The forest, once a place of fear and danger, now seemed distant, a reminder of the courage, trust, and loyalty that had carried him through. The dog lay quietly beside him, its presence a steady comfort. Daniel realized that this small, brave creature had changed his life forever. The boy understood that home was not just a place, but also the people and companions who protected and loved him. The night grew calm, and Daniel's parents prepared a meal, inviting the dog to share in their care and warmth. The boy laughed softly, brushing dirt from his clothes and feeling an overwhelming sense of gratitude. The dog's amber eyes reflected the flickering firelight, and Daniel felt the silent communication between them, an unspoken understanding that their bond was permanent, forged in trials, strengthened through danger, and anchored by unwavering loyalty. As the village settled into quiet, Daniel reflected on the journey. The forest had tested him, the wild dogs had challenged him, but he had never faced these trials alone. The dog had been his constant companion, his hero, guiding him through fear and uncertainty to safety and love. With each heartbeat, he felt a deep appreciation for the courage, devotion, and friendship of this unexpected guardian. The boy knew that their journey together was only beginning, and that this loyal companion would remain by his side through all the adventures that lay ahead. The night had settled gently over the village. The air was filled with the soft hum of life, distant crickets, the rustle of leaves, and the gentle breathing of sleeping animals. Daniel sat quietly beside his loyal companion, the stray dog who had guided him through the forest, saved him from danger, and never left his side. The boy's parents watched with awe, their hearts filled with relief and gratitude, as they realized just how extraordinary the bond between Daniel and the dog had become. The dog's amber eyes gleamed softly in the firelight, calm yet vigilant, as if acknowledging the trust and love that had grown over the past day. Daniel gently brushed the dirt from the dog's fur, whispering, "You're my hero. I don't know what I would have done without you." The dog nudged his hand with its nose, a soft, reassuring gesture that spoke volumes. The boy felt a swell of emotion, a mix of gratitude, admiration, and the quiet awe of knowing that this small, brave creature had changed his life forever. The forest, with all its shadows and dangers, seemed like a distant memory now, replaced by the warmth, safety, and love of home. As they settled into the cozy glow of the family's home, Daniel's parents prepared a small meal for themselves and for their extraordinary guest. The dog sat patiently by Daniel's side, its tail swishing gently, eyes observing everything with quiet intelligence. The boy shared pieces of his food with the dog, laughing softly at the careful way it ate, and feeling an overwhelming sense of connection and companionship. It was a simple, heartwarming scene, yet it carried the weight of the journey they had shared. Hours of fear, certainty, and trust forged under the canopy of the forest. Later, Daniel's mother tucked him into bed. The boy glanced down at the dog curled up on a soft blanket at the foot of his bed. The dog lifted its head slightly, ears twitching, and gave a soft, approving bark. Daniel smiled sleepily, whispering, "Good night, my hero. We made it." The dog rested its head on its paws, eyes slowly closing, as if satisfied that its job was done for now. Yet Daniel knew, deep in his heart, that this companion would remain a part of his life, forever a symbol of courage, loyalty, and friendship. The night passed peacefully, the village quiet and calm. Daniel dreamed of the forest not as a place of fear, but as the setting of a profound adventure, a story of courage, resilience, and the unwavering bond between a boy and his stray dog. In his dreams, the dog guided him through sparkling streams, sunlit meadows, and shadowy paths, always watching, always protecting. Each dream reinforced the lessons of the journey, that bravery can come in unexpected forms, that trust is earned through actions, and that love and loyalty transcend species. Morning brought the soft light of a new day. Daniel awoke to the gentle nudge of the dog's nose, stretching and blinking in the warmth of home. Outside, the village was alive with activity. Children running to school, vendors calling from their stalls, and the distant lowing of cows. Daniel felt a deep appreciation for the ordinary moments, the beauty of a safe morning, the laughter of his family, and the quiet presence of his loyal friend. He realized that life, like the forest journey, was filled with challenges and surprises, but it was also rich with love, connection, moments of triumph. In the weeks that followed, Daniel and the dog became inseparable. The boy told his friends about the adventure, always emphasizing the courage and loyalty of his companion. The dog, once a stray wandering the forest, had found a home, a purpose, and a friend for life. The villagers marveled at the bond, often remarking how the small creature had accomplished what many might have thought impossible, saving a child, navigating danger, and forging a lifelong friendship. Daniel learned to care for the dog, feeding it, grooming it, and sharing every moment of his life with his brave companion. In return, the dog continued to offer unwavering protection, loyalty, and companionship. Together, they explored the fields, played in the streams, and even ventured cautiously back toward the forest, always side by side. It, begun in fear and uncertainty, had transformed into a story of hope, courage, and the extraordinary power of friendship. And so, the boy and his hero lived on, bound by a shared adventure that neither would ever forget. The forest had tested them, danger had challenged them, but love and loyalty had triumphed. Daniel's heart carried the memory of the journey forever, a reminder that sometimes heroes appear when least expected, in the form of a small, scarred, amber-eyed stray who teaches us about courage, companionship, and the enduring power of trust.